Hello everyone. In today's video, I bring you an impressive account of a near-death experience that will deeply move you. We're going to hear the story of Ilara Winslow, who says she died, met God, and received a message about what will happen on September 12th, a life-altering event for all of us. Before we dive into this chilling journey, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our impactful content, and hit the notification bell to receive all updates. Now, get ready for an incredible testimony that will leave you speechless. Hello, my name is Ilara Winslow, and today I want to share with you a story that completely changed my life. A story of pain, redemption, and above all, unconditional love. I'm 28 years old now, born and raised in Seattle, a vibrant city full of life. But ironically, my world has always been lonely and cold. From a very young age, I learned that life can be cruel. I was abandoned by my mother when I was just 6 months old. She left me in a dumpster, where I was found by a neighbor. From there, I was passed from relative to relative, never experiencing the true love of a family. Loneliness became my constant companion. As I grew older, I became emotionally self-sufficient, or at least, that's what I tried to believe. By the time I was 15, I decided I didn't need anyone. It was me against the world, and I was determined to win that battle on my own. I attended church, but the God they taught me to fear seemed more like a threat than a source of comfort. Religion, to me, was just another form of control and punishment, an extension of the abuse and neglect I suffered at home. I was convinced that I wasn't worthy of love, neither human nor divine. Things got worse during my teenage years. I didn't graduate from high school, watched all my friends move forward while I stagnated. The feelings of inadequacy and inferiority consumed me, and I began sinking into a deep depression. Nothing I tried to ease the pain, drugs, alcohol, parties, could fill the emptiness I felt. Everything seemed temporary and meaningless. It was at that moment that I started planning my suicide. I wanted to end it all, but I wanted it to be final. I decided I would jump in front of a train. I planned everything down to the smallest detail. And then, minutes before making the final decision, I received a call from my mother. The only thing she said was, "I don't want you as my daughter, I never did." It felt like the universe was pushing me into the abyss. I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to a bridge and, without a second thought, threw myself out of the moving car. I hit my head on the concrete so hard that everything went dark in an instant. That's when everything began to change. It was the start of a journey that would lead me to discover a love I never imagined possible, and a mission that would give new meaning to my life. The moment my body hit the concrete was the instant my life, or as I knew it, came to an end. But paradoxically, it was also the beginning of something extraordinary. The intense pain I expected to feel never came. Instead, I experienced an indescribable sense of lightness. Suddenly, I found myself floating above my own body. It was a surreal scene. I could see my lifeless body on the ground, surrounded by paramedics frantically working to revive me. Their voices seemed distant, as if coming from another world. I knew, with an inexplicable certainty, that I was dead. But strangely, I didn't feel fear. As I watched the scene below, I began to feel a gentle yet irresistible pull. It was as if a soft force was drawing me away from my physical body. As I moved further away, the scene of the accident grew smaller and smaller until it completely disappeared. I found myself in a dark tunnel, but it wasn't a frightening darkness, it was welcoming, almost comforting. At the end of this tunnel, I saw a light. It wasn't an ordinary light. It was the purest and brightest light I had ever seen. It radiated a feeling of peace and love that enveloped me completely. As I approached the light, I began to hear soft music. It wasn't a melody I knew, but somehow it felt familiar. It was as if each note was in perfect harmony with my being. When I got closer to the light, I realized I wasn't alone. I felt the presence of beings around me. I couldn't see them clearly, but I could feel their love and compassion. They seemed to guide and comfort me, and then I entered the light. At that moment, I experienced a love so deep and unconditional that it's hard to describe in words. It was as if all the love in the universe was enveloping and filling me. All the fears, pains, and sorrows I had carried simply dissolved. In this state of pure consciousness, I began to understand universal truths. I saw how everything is interconnected, how each action has an impact on the whole. I realized that life is much more than our physical existence. We are eternal beings, part of something much greater. In an instant, my entire life flashed before my eyes. But it wasn't just a simple replay of events. I could feel the impact of each of my actions, not only on myself but on everyone around me. I saw how small acts of kindness created waves of positivity, and how harsh words could cause deep wounds. It was at that moment that I felt a presence. It was a presence so powerful, so loving, that I instantly knew I was in the presence of God. Not the punitive and judgmental God I had been taught to fear, but a God of unconditional love and infinite compassion. Being in God's presence was the most profound and transformative experience of my life. It wasn't an anthropomorphic figure as often depicted. It was an energy, a consciousness so vast and loving that it seemed to encompass the entire universe. At that moment, all the questions I had were answered before I even formulated them. It was as if all the knowledge of the universe was within my reach. I understood the purpose of life, the meaning of suffering, the beauty of creation. Everything made sense in a way it never had before. The love that emanated from this presence was indescribable. It was a love that accepted everything, that didn't judge, that embraced every part of my being, including the parts I rejected myself. For the first time in my life, I felt completely accepted, completely loved. God showed me that His love is real, and it doesn't depend on who we are or what we've done. I saw that all my mistakes, all my failures, were just part of my journey of learning. There was no condemnation, only understanding and love. In this state of communion with the divine, I received a message. God showed me that on September 12th of this year, just 2 days from now, a divine intervention would take place. Something big and transformative, which would change the course of humanity. I couldn't see the exact details of what would happen, but I felt the magnitude of the event. It was something that would bring a profound change in humanity's collective consciousness. I was surprised and a little scared by this revelation. I argued with God, saying that no one would listen to me, that I would be considered crazy if I tried to share this message. But I felt as if God smiled, not with lips, but with His whole being, and I clearly heard in my mind, just share the love. At that moment, I saw 2 beings approach. They were angels, but not like the ones depicted in paintings or statues. One of them had an almost human appearance, with a serene and welcoming expression that reminded me of a comforting, familiar figure. The other was different. His face was radiant, as if light itself emanated from him. These angels confirmed what God had told me. I needed to return to the physical world. My mission on earth was not complete. I had an important purpose to fulfill. I confessed that I didn't want to return. The physical world seemed cold and painful compared to the warmth and peace of that place. But something inside me knew it was necessary. I had a mission to complete, a message of love to share. And so, gently, I was guided back to my physical body. The transition was smooth, but I felt a certain resistance. It was like diving back into a dense and heavy world after experiencing the purest freedom. Opening my eyes again in the physical world was a surreal experience. The first thing I noticed was the intensity of the sensations. The hospital lights seemed blinding, the sounds almost deafening. My body felt heavy, as if I was carrying the weight of the world. It took me a few moments to get my bearings. I was in a hospital bed, surrounded by machines emitting constant beeps. A nurse noticed that I had woken up and quickly called the doctor. They seemed surprised and relieved to see me conscious. The doctor explained that I had been in a coma for 2 days. He said it was a miracle that I was alive, given the severity of my injuries. But for me, the real miracle was what I experienced during my NDE, near-death experience. I tried to explain what had happened, to talk about the light, the unconditional love I felt, the message I received. But words seemed inadequate to describe the magnitude of the experience. The doctor listened patiently, but I could see in his eyes that he attributed my account to some kind of hallucination caused by the trauma. In the days that followed, I underwent a series of exams and tests. The doctors were perplexed by my rapid recovery. Injuries that should have taken weeks to heal were mending in days. My physical condition improved by the hour, but the real transformation was happening internally. I felt different. The depression that had consumed me for so long had completely vanished. In its place was a deep peace and a sense of purpose I had never experienced before. The fear of death, which had once tormented me, had completely dissipated. Now I knew, with absolute certainty, that death was not the end, but merely a transition. My perception of the world around me had also changed. I could feel the energy of the people around me in a way I had never felt before. I could see the beauty in simple things, the smile of a nurse, the sound of rain on the window, the warmth of the sun on my face. Everything seemed alive, pulsating with a divine energy. But along with this new perception came a sense of responsibility. I knew I had been sent back for a reason. I had a message to share, a mission to fulfill. The date of September 12th was engraved in my mind, and I knew something significant was about to happen. As I physically recovered, I began to plan how I would share my experience and the message I had received. I knew many wouldn't believe me, that I would be called crazy or delusional, but that didn't matter. The love I experienced was too real, too powerful to be ignored. I decided that as soon as I was discharged from the hospital, I would start sharing my story. Not to convince people, but to offer hope, to show that there is a love beyond our understanding, waiting for all of us. In the days following my near-death experience, in her place was someone full of gratitude, compassion, and a deep sense of purpose. The emotional wounds I had carried for years, abandonment, rejection, feelings of inadequacy, seemed to have healed all at once. I began to see my past life in a new light. Every pain, every difficulty, every moment of despair now seemed to have a purpose. They were necessary lessons for my spiritual growth, preparing me for the mission I now knew I had to fulfill. My perception of the people around me also changed drastically. Where I once saw strangers, I now saw spiritual brothers and sisters. Every person who entered my hospital room, doctors, nurses, cleaning staff, I saw as a unique manifestation of divine love. I could feel their struggles, their joys, their pains, and my heart filled with compassion for each one of them. The fear that had once dominated my life had completely disappeared. I no longer feared death, as I knew it was only a transition to a higher state of existence. I no longer feared the judgment of others, as I had experienced an unconditional love that transcended any human opinion. My relationship with God also changed radically. The punitive and judgmental God I had feared in childhood was replaced by the loving and compassionate presence I experienced during my NDE. Now, I felt His presence constantly, in every breath, in every beat of my heart. With all its hurts and regrets, it no longer had power over me. The future, with all its uncertainties, no longer caused me anxiety. I had learned to live fully in the present, savoring each moment as a precious gift. The message I received about the event on September 12th became the central focus of my existence. I knew I had an important mission to fulfill, and this awareness gave me a sense of purpose I had never experienced before. I began meditating daily, seeking to maintain the connection with that divine light I experienced. During these meditations, I sometimes received insights and messages that helped me better understand my mission. As my physical recovery progressed, I felt a new energy flowing through me. It was as if every cell in my body was vibrating at a higher frequency. People around me began to notice this change, commenting on the peace and joy that seemed to radiate from me. This inner transformation was so profound that sometimes I barely recognized myself. But I knew that this new version of me was who I was always meant to be, free of fear, full of love, and ready to fulfill my divine purpose. As soon as I was discharged from the hospital, I felt an overwhelming urgency to share my experience and the message I had received. I knew I had little time before September 12th, and I wanted to reach as many people as possible. I started with my friends and family. I gathered them all at my home and told them in detail about my near-death experience. I spoke about the light, the unconditional love I felt, and the message about the imminent divine intervention. The reactions were mixed. Some were skeptical, others fascinated, and some even frightened. But what surprised me most was how, even those who didn't fully believe my story, seemed touched by the peace and love that emanated from me as I spoke. Encouraged by this response, I decided to expand my reach. I started giving talks at community centers, churches, and even at small events I organized. It didn't matter the size of the audience. Sometimes it was just a few people, other times dozens. What mattered was sharing the message. During these talks, I didn't focus solely on the event predicted for September 12th. I spoke about the unconditional love I experienced, about how each of us is loved and valued beyond our understanding. I shared how this experience had transformed my view of life and death, and how it could bring peace and purpose to everyone's life. Surprisingly, my story began to spread. I was invited to local radio programs and even a small TV channel. While some labeled me as crazy or delusional, many were touched by the sincerity and peace that emanated from me as I spoke. I also used social media to reach a wider audience. I created a Facebook page and a YouTube channel where I shared short videos talking about my experience and the message I received. To my surprise, these videos began gaining traction, being shared by people from different parts of the world. However, it wasn't an easy path. I faced a lot of resistance and skepticism. Some people accused me of seeking attention or trying to deceive others. I received hate messages and even threats. But none of that shook my determination. The love I experienced during my NDE was so real, so powerful, that no negativity could overshadow it. What kept me strong was seeing the impact my message had on people. I received countless messages from people saying that my story had brought hope into their lives. Some reported having profound spiritual experiences after hearing my testimony. Others said they had found a new sense of meaning in their lives. As September 12th approaches, I feel a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I am certain it will be something that changes the course of humanity. I continued sharing my message tirelessly, knowing that every person I reached could make a difference. My mission was not to convert people to a specific belief, but to awaken in them the awareness of the divine love that is always present. I wanted people to know that, no matter what happened on September 12th, they were deeply loved and that there was a greater purpose for their lives. Today, 2 days before the predicted date, I continue my mission with more fervor than ever. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I am exactly where I am supposed to be, doing exactly what I am meant to do, and that fills me with an indescribable peace and joy. As September 12th approaches, I feel a growing sense of urgency and responsibility. Although I don't know exactly what is going to happen, I am certain it will be a global event, something that will affect all of humanity. In recent days, I have intensified my efforts to share the message. I organized a series of online group meditations, inviting people from all over the world to join in prayer and contemplation. During these sessions, I share meditation techniques I've learned since my near-death experience, helping people connect with their own divine essence. I also created a small guide, which I made available for free online, on how to spiritually prepare for major changes. In it, I emphasize the importance of love, compassion, and gratitude as tools for navigating times of transformation. I encourage people to practice forgiveness, both of themselves and others, as a way to clear negative energy and make room for the new. At the same time, I have dedicated myself to my own inner preparation. I spend hours each day in deep meditation, seeking guidance and clarity. During these moments of stillness, I sometimes receive glimpses of what is to come. They aren't clear or concrete visions, but rather feelings and impressions. I sense that the event on September 12th will be like a collective awakening, a shift in global consciousness that will open people's hearts to a higher reality. Physically, I feel my body vibrating at an increasingly higher frequency as the day approaches. It's as if every cell in my being is preparing for something grand. Sometimes the energy is so intense that I can barely sleep. But instead of feeling tired, I feel more alive and alert than ever. I've been encouraging people to prepare not only spiritually but also practically. I suggest having basic supplies at home, not out of fear, but as a precaution. After all, we don't know exactly how this event will affect societal structures. One of the most challenging things has been dealing with skepticism and sometimes even hostility from some people. There are those who accuse me of spreading panic or being a charlatan, but I've learned to receive these criticisms with compassion, understanding that fear often manifests as anger or disbelief. At the same time, I've been approached by many people who have had their own mystical experiences or premonitions about a major event to come. These conversations have been incredibly comforting and validating. I feel like I'm part of a global network of awakened souls, all working together to prepare humanity for this great shift. One of the most surprising things that has happened in recent days is the emergence of spontaneous support groups. People who heard my story started gathering in small circles in their communities, sharing experiences, fears, and hopes. These groups have become true beacons of light, offering comfort and guidance to those feeling lost or frightened by the prospect of a major change. I've also spent time connecting with spiritual leaders from different traditions. While not all share exactly the same vision as I do about what's to come, many recognize that we are at a crucial moment in human history. These conversations have been incredibly enriching, expanding my own understanding and helping me see how different spiritual paths can converge at this moment of global transformation. As September 12th approaches, I feel a mixture of emotions: anticipation, excitement, a bit of apprehension, but above all, a deep sense of peace. I know that regardless of what happens, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, and that certainty fills me with indescribable joy. Today, I continue my mission with more fervor than ever. Every moment is precious. Every interaction is an opportunity to spread love and light. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know we are on the brink of something extraordinary, something that has the potential to elevate all of humanity to a new level of consciousness and connection with the divine. My near-death experience was truly a rebirth. Not only did I survive physically, but I was spiritually reborn. The unconditional love I experienced in that realm beyond physical life completely transformed my perception of reality. Now I see the world through a lens of love and compassion, and that shift in perspective has been the greatest gift I've ever received. I remember how I used to see my life, a series of tragedies and disappointments, marked by abandonment and loneliness. Now I see each experience as an essential part of my journey, preparing me for this crucial moment. The abandonment I suffered taught me to value genuine connections. The loneliness prepared me for the quiet moments needed to hear the divine voice. Even my suicide attempt, as painful as it was, led me to the transformative experience that changed everything. One of the deepest lessons I've learned is the power of forgiveness. I forgave my parents for abandoning me, understanding that they were struggling with their own pain and limitations. I forgave everyone who hurt me over the years. Most importantly, I forgave myself for all the times I judged myself harshly, for considering myself unworthy of love. This process of forgiveness opened space in my heart for a deeper love for myself, for others, and for the divine. It is this love that has been the driving force behind everything I've done since my near-death experience. Reflecting on the past few weeks, I am amazed at how quickly things have developed. From a recovering patient in the hospital, I became a messenger of hope and transformation. Every person I've met, every story I've heard, every life I've touched, all of it has become part of my own story of healing and growth. One of the most rewarding things has been witnessing the changes in the people around me. I see people who were once full of fear and cynicism beginning to open up to greater possibilities. I see relationships being healed, dreams being revived, and a new sense of purpose emerging in so many lives. At the same time, I am deeply aware of the responsibility I carry. The message I received is not just for me, it is for all of humanity. Sometimes the weight of that responsibility feels overwhelming, but then I remember the love I experienced during my NDE, and I know that I am not alone on this journey. I am merely a channel, an instrument for something much greater than myself. As September 12th approaches, I feel a mix of anticipation and serenity. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I have a deep certainty that it will be something beautiful and transformative. It feels as though my entire life has been a preparation for this moment. Looking to the future, I see how every piece of the puzzle of my life fits together perfectly. Every pain, every joy, every challenge has brought me to this point. And now, I am ready to take the next step on this incredible journey, not just for myself, but for all of humanity. I spend most of the day in deep meditation, seeking guidance and clarity. During these moments of stillness, I feel an even stronger connection to that divine presence I experienced during my NDE. It's as if the veil between worlds is becoming thinner, allowing me to feel more clearly the energy of the spiritual realm. During my meditations, I receive more impressions of what is to come. They are not clear visions or concrete information, but rather feelings and intuitions. I sense that the event on September 12th will not be something catastrophic or apocalyptic, as some fear. On the contrary, I feel it will be an awakening, a lifting of the collective consciousness of humanity. I imagine it will be like a switch being flipped on a global scale, allowing more people to experience, even if only momentarily, that unconditional love and connection with the divine that I felt during my NDE. It will be as if the hearts of humanity open simultaneously, allowing new understanding and compassion to flow among us all. Throughout the day, I receive countless messages from people all over the world. Some express fear and anxiety about what's to come. Others share a sense of excitement and anticipation. I respond to each message with love and compassion, reminding everyone that, no matter what happens, divine love is always present and available to all of us. I'm organizing an online vigil for the night of September 11th, inviting people from all corners of the planet to join in prayer and meditation. The response has been overwhelming. Thousands of people from different countries, cultures, and spiritual traditions have already signed up to participate. Seeing so many souls united for a common purpose fills me with hope and joy. I've planned to share some of the meditation techniques I've learned since my near-death experience during the vigil. I'll guide participants through breathing and visualization exercises, helping them connect with their own divine essence. I hope the energy that will flow during this session will be incredible, as if we could feel the collective heartbeat of humanity. As I prepare for the next 2 days, I feel a deep peace settling within me. There is a serene certainty that, no matter what happens, everything is exactly as it should be. I remember the words I heard during my NDE, just share the love. I now realize that this simple yet profound message is the essence of everything we are about to experience. I plan to do one last live broadcast tomorrow night for everyone who has been following me on this journey. I'll share words of encouragement and love, reminding everyone that we are stronger together, united in love and compassion. I intend to end the broadcast with a simple prayer. May we open our hearts to the divine love that has always been present. May we see each other as reflections of that love. And may we, together, create a world where that love is the guiding force in all we do. As the night approaches, I feel a mix of emotions, anticipation, excitement, a bit of nervousness, but above all, a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for this incredible journey, for all the people I've met along the way, and for the opportunity to be an instrument of divine love at this crucial moment in human history. Tomorrow will be another day of preparation, and then, on the 12th, a new chapter will begin, not just in my life, but in the life of all humanity. I don't know exactly what awaits us, but I know I'll be ready to embrace whatever comes with an open heart full of love. I start the day as I have since my near-death experience, with deep meditation. But today, the meditation is different. As soon as I close my eyes, I am flooded with a bright light, similar to the one I experienced during my NDE. It's as if the veil between worlds is becoming thinner, allowing divine light to flow more freely. During this meditation, I receive a clear message. The moment is near. Prepare your heart and be a beacon of love. The sense of peace and certainty that accompanies this message is overwhelming. I know, without a doubt, that something extraordinary is about to happen. I leave the meditation and prepare to start a live broadcast for everyone who has been following me on this journey. Thousands of people from all over the world join the broadcast, their comments flowing with a mix of expectation and nervousness. As I speak to them, sharing words of love and encouragement, I feel a growing energy. It's as if we are all connected, part of something much greater that is unfolding. During the broadcast, I share some of the insights I received during my meditation. I talk about the importance of keeping our hearts open in the coming days, of being receptive to the divine love that is about to manifest in extraordinary ways. I also address the fears and concerns that many have expressed. I remind everyone that what is coming is not something to be feared, but to be embraced. It is an opportunity for humanity to take a quantum leap in consciousness and compassion. As the broadcast progresses, I begin receiving messages from people reporting unusual experiences. Some speak of vivid dreams with similar themes of light and love. Others mention feelings of intense energy coursing through their bodies. Some even report brief glimpses of a higher reality. These reports fill me with excitement and confirm what I feel in my heart, that the event on September 12th will be truly transformative on a global scale. I spend the rest of the day preparing for the online vigil that will take place tomorrow night. I review the script for the guided meditation I'll lead, making sure every word, every pause, is aligned with the energy of what is to come. I also take time to respond individually to as many messages as possible. People from all over the world are reaching out, seeking guidance, comfort, or simply wanting to share their own experiences and intuitions about what's to come. As night falls, I feel a deep peace settling within me. There is a serene certainty that, no matter what happens in the coming days, everything is exactly as it should be. I remember the words I heard during my NDE, just share the love. I now realize that this simple, yet profound, message is the essence of everything we are about to experience. Before I retire for the night, I do one last live broadcast, this time shorter and more intimate. I share words of encouragement and love, reminding everyone that we are stronger together, united in love and compassion. I end the broadcast with a simple prayer. May we open our hearts to the divine love that has always been present. May we see each other as reflections of that love. And may we, together, create a world where that love is the guiding force in all we do. As I prepare to sleep, I feel a mixture of emotions, anticipation, excitement, a bit of nervousness, but above all, a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for this incredible journey, for all the people I've met along the way, and for the opportunity to be an instrument of divine love at this crucial moment in human history. I don't know exactly what awaits us, but I know I'll be ready to embrace whatever comes with an open heart full of love. If you enjoyed this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video and can help us spread this message to as many people as possible. See you next time.